Hi, I'm Gary Chomiak, and I'm here to talk to you about temperaments. Now, let me give you a little bit of background about temperaments. It comes out of Jungian psychology, and Jung was an associate of Sigmund Freud. Jung believed in something called archetypes, and he based a lot of his psychology on that. Then he developed what were called preferences. Each person has a preference as to the way they would prefer to act or be. The problem is, however, might be from their upbringing or some kind of life circumstances, they don't always act out of them, or maybe it's just not appropriate to act out of that preference. So he developed this system of preferences, and then Myers and Briggs, they developed a personality test, and they came up with 16 personality types. Then another person came along who developed what was called the Keirsey temperament sorter and divided the 16 temperaments up into 4 groups. And those 4 temperaments are an intuitive feeler, an intuitive thinker, a sensing judger, and a sensing perceiver. The intuitive feeler can feel other people's pain. They can sense other people's pain. They are very good at addressing people at the point of their need. What they want is for this harmony to be throughout the whole world and the universe. Let's take a look at an intuitive feeler and see how she looks at the world and how she looks at herself.
As an intuitive feeler, I have a strong sense of peace and harmony and justice, and I empathize with people so greatly that it pains me to see other people in pain. I felt like I could best use my tendencies by becoming a minister. If I hadn't been a minister, I would maybe be a teacher or a psychologist because I just love to help people. If there's something good that can be done, I want to do it. If I can just lend a smile, then that might be what I do for the day. But I really feel like my strengths and tendencies are to bring warmth and good and light to the world. And I hope that those are things that will be received and appreciated by people.
Next, the intuitive thinker is a person who operates out of competency. An intuitive thinker constantly questions things, questions authority, questions how systems work, and it's not really to tear those systems down. They're merely questioning everything so that they could figure out how things operate. And once they figure out how things operate and analyze things, take it apart, put it back together, they're putting things back together as a much better system, a finer system than what was there before. Now, one of the things that happens with an intuitive thinker is because they know what they know is the right thing, they come across as being rather arrogant. In fact, if they're in an argument and they lose the argument, they will actually say something like, well, you know I might not be right in this, but I know I'm not wrong. And that is an intuitive thinker. An intuitive thinker is a person who not only is constantly striving for competency, but is also extremely self-critical. Let me give you an illustration of how an intuitive thinker operates and the way that she perceives the world and perceives herself.
I'm an intuitive thinker. I'm usually right. I'm usually the boss. You are usually wrong, and I will know it, and I will tell you how to do it better. When I criticize you, it's no criticism I wouldn't give myself because it makes you better, it makes me better, it makes the whole system work better. I take information from many different sources, and I funnel that into workable systems for everyone.
The sensing judger is the kind of person that you want to have around who is going to maintain the traditions that exist in society. The sensing judger is the person who passes down legacies. The sensing judgers are going to be the people who kind of do a service to others, but they do it out of a sense of duty. The sensing judger is a great person in institutions that use procedures. And one of the problems with the sensing judgers is that they really like to follow those procedures even when they're no longer effective. And usually you'll hear a sensing judger say something like this, but we've never done it that way before. And when that way wins, you can almost guarantee that the relationship, the organization, the business is going to fail because the change never happened. But let's take a look at someone who is a sensing judger who joined the military many years ago.
I remember the day like it was yesterday. almost 22 years ago now, the day I joined the Navy. I came home, I looked in my father's eye. I'd never seen him so proud. To follow in his footsteps as a chief petty officer, just like he had followed in the footsteps of his father, it meant everything to him. And it means the same to me. What I like best about the Navy is having my days structured. I get up at 0500 hours every day, and I know what I'm doing from each moment to the next. Being able to perform those tasks, contribute to this incredible organization that has meant so much for our country. That's something that I'm proud of every day.
Sensing perceiver is another very interesting personality temperament. The sensing perceiver is a person who operates on spontaneity. Sensing perceivers are excellent first responders and athletes. A sensing perceiver who is a first responder, say in the fire department, when they go into a burning building, they know what they need to do to get the people out to safety. They can identify the trouble and they can solve it. Now, one of the problems with the sensing perceivers is that they believe in play now, pay later. And what that means is that they will do what's in the here and now without any consideration about what's going to happen later on. And the likelihood is that a sensing perceiver could probably have problems, say, with gambling. You know, they're there at the slot machine and they just keep pulling the arm or pushing the button and they run out of money and they think, okay, where's the rest? They haven't even thought that money is a limited supply. Take a look at this next scene of the sensing perceiver.
Hey, babe. You know, as a sensing perceiver, I tend to be a little impulsive in my life. When I think of a new dance move, I just do it. Because that's what Elvis does, baby. If I'm hungry, I get my fried banana sandwich and I eat it. I eat what I want, when I want. You know, I once bought a beautiful woman, a Cadillac, at the spur of the moment. Because I'm Elvis, baby. And Elvis does what he wants to, when he wants to. Well, now, it's time for Elvis to leave the building.
The other thing about the sensing perceivers are that they love tools. They're good at athletics and say they have, they're in a softball league and they have 5 bats. They're more likely going to be a sensing perceiver because they're going to pick a bat for each different kind of situation that they might be in. Take a look at this next scene of the sensing perceiver who just got a new set of golf clubs.
I gotta tell you, I love my tailor-made R9 golf clubs, especially my 25-degree 5-iron with the steel shaft. It's got an ultra-thin wraparound face that maximizes ball speed, plus the inverted cone technology gives me consistent distance on any off-center hits. The rough is not an impediment, it's got a touch of workability, and the club face is hot. Balls just jump right off of it. I tell you, it's gotta take at least 2 strokes off my game. 4!
Now I'd like to talk about how the different temperaments work together in the workplace. And I really do want to focus on how they work together and help you understand some pitfalls to try to avoid when sometimes these different temperaments clash. One of the things that you have to understand about the different temperaments is that if you kind of cookie cutter all of your employees and think that they all have to work in the same kind of a setup, in the same kind of a system, and you got some employees it's just not working for, perhaps they're not the right temperament for that position. And so maybe if you look at these different temperaments before the hire, before you bring the person on board, it might help you out later on. You might have fewer problems, not only with personnel issues, but also in productivity. Let's take a look at some situations between the different temperaments and how they work together or maybe don't work together so well. The first one we're going to look at is an intuitive thinker and a sensing judger in a confrontational situation. Take a look at this and see what you think.
I have some new ideas for the golf tournament this year. We're going to do away with the banquet and incorporate a mixer, and we'll do the raffle and the awards during the mixer.
Do away with the banquet? I'm not sure that's a good idea. I mean, we've always had the banquet.
The banquet hasn't been working. It hasn't been working for a long time, and it is eliminating part of your clientele. This year, the mixer will incorporate all non-golfers. It'll be dynamic, expanding our clientele, getting people spending money while they're having a good time.
you're using a lot of big words and making everything sound really good. But the bottom line of what I'm hearing is you're taking away my banquet. The banquet that I've had every year that I've done this golf tournament. You say it doesn't work, but I know from my own experience, my clients that I've had for 10 years, they expect to come to my golf tournament and have a banquet like every golf tournament in America has.
Exactly.
A banquet afterwards.
A banquet afterwards, instead of something fun and different, something that no one else is doing.
You come in with these new ideas, you want to change everything all the time, and it makes my clients that I've had for years uncomfortable, all right? I don't like this.
I think that a party will make them uncomfortable.
Well, not having a banquet will. I mean, we always have with the golf tournament, and we always will.
The sensing judger is a temperament that is based on procedure and duty. The sensing judger person is going to be the one who's going to see that your system operates efficiently and effectively. They're going to be great in terms of seeing to it that this organization is going to run the same way today as it did last year, as it did 50 years ago, and if you keep them around, they'll be there in the future. The problem would be, though, is if there are external changes and the sensing judger might not want to go along with those changes. Intuitive thinkers are another interesting temperament. The thing that drives the intuitive thinkers is competency. They want to be competent in what they do, and they do that by asking questions. It might seem like they're tearing the organization apart, but they're not. Actually, what they're doing is they're trying to figure out how to analyze and see how the system operates to improve it. All right, the next situation that we're going to look at are the interactions between a sensing judger and an intuitive feeler. And this is a request from a nonprofit for a large contribution. And let's see how these two temperaments work things out.
Hey boss, we got this invitation to contribute to the annual gala again this year. They're asking for a $10,000 donation. It seems a little high to me.
We will contribute the $10,000. This is one of the most important things that we do as a company. This charity was actually founded by a man who fought in World War II with my grandfather.
I was just wondering specifically because the numbers from the last quarter have been a little low and I'm a little tentative to give the full donation. Maybe we could cut it in half?
I know you're worried, okay? And I'm worried too about the economy. But one thing that we can't let that kind of fear get to us is our values and what we stand for. And this company has always stood for supporting that charity. It's important in the community, and it's important to us. So if it means modernizing the equipment so that we cut costs there, if it means finding other ways to cut corners, then that's what we need to do.
So let's talk about the intuitive feeler first. The intuitive feeler is a people person. They love people. They love to be around people. They can talk to people. They're great persuaders. You want that kind of person to be in your sales force, in your customer service force. You want that person out there representing your company because they're going to let the entire world know just how great your product and your company is. So that's the great thing about the intuitive feeler. Now, one of the things you got to watch out for with the intuitive feeler is because they want everything to be in harmony, they would tend to be conflict avoiders. So if there is a conflict that's within your organization, within your company, you need to be a little careful because the intuitive feeler is going to want to try to smooth things over too quickly. Okay, now the last one that we're going to look at is actually a husband and wife, a sensing perceiver husband and an intuitive feeler wife. They're test driving cars, and they're both looking at the same exact thing, but they look at it differently. And this isn't just with couples who are together. It can be in a work setting where two partners are working on a project together and see one object but see it in two different ways. Take a look at this. I think you're going to like this one.
Oh, wow, honey, I love this car. It comes fully loaded. The engine's a 5-liter 4-valve V8, 6-speed transmission. This is the full GT convertible package. Man, I am gonna fly up and down Mulholland when I'm coming home. And it gets great gas mileage, so it's gonna fit our budget perfectly. I love every single thing about this automobile. And what about you, honey? What do you like about it?
It's red.
It's red. We'll take the red one.